Hi, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide. This is part 3 out of 4 of the Remarkable 2 paper tablet in-depth review and guide. Let's continue. Now on to the reader side of things. Remarkable 2 supports PDF, text files and EPUB files, I believe. Text and EPUB files will be able to be formatted by using the different format options, and I'm going to go through those so that you can see them. And a PDF doesn't. It doesn't really have a reflow or anything like that, so it's very, very limited as far as the reader capabilities go. So much so that it is one of the weakest sides of this device, actually. First things first, so the navigation is very much the same as on the notebooks. Swipe left, swipe right for previous and next page, and swipe down to go back home. So that much is clear, and that works. At the bottom you have your overview of pages, and on the side you have the toolbar. Of course, you can use all of the same brushes, tools, and everything exactly the same like in the notebook to mark up your documents. So that's one of the whole points of the Remarkable 2, is to review a document, then you just write up your notes, and then you kind of hit share, and then you send it by email, or you also can use this as a live view as well. You also have the ability to do layers. You do not have the ability to convert to text, recognize and convert to text your notes on this guide, so that is something that's not present at the moment. And here, the blank page here is basically for document management, and you can only do a couple of things. So now we are in a PDF. On the document itself, again, you do not have pinch and zoom. It doesn't work, it doesn't do it, but you do have the same zoom type. So you can zoom in, and you have this same type of thing. Again, I think it's too slow. It's very, very slow. It works okay once it actually clears it up and does everything, but I think it's simply too slow to be useful. One of the many things that I think is lacking in the readers. The visibility and readability itself will depend on the document itself, but I do find that the same PDF again looks and reads better on Remarkable 2 than it does on Remarkable 1, probably due to the new screen and how the contrast is handled. However, apropos contrast, you cannot control that contrast at all. There is no contrast control whatsoever. So if you get a document that is pale, you cannot adjust that, and you cannot make it more different. Also, there's no contrast or any kind of image control like you have on Onyx books. So it really depends on what type of document you have. There's a few things that I think are kind of unfortunate. The only formatting stuff that I can do with a PDF is basically I can set to landscape view, but it doesn't rotate the document itself. Now, wouldn't this be a really good opportunity to actually rotate the document into a landscape view as it says, fit the width, and make sure that the next and previous pages are going through the page until the end, and then you flip over like it does on Kindle? I mean, Kindle handles that brilliantly. Such an easy approach, so clean and so easy to understand, and it works. It's really not complicated at all. But yeah, we don't have it here, and it would have been an absolute perfect solution for this. It fits in with the simplicity mindset that they are looking for, yet it adds functionality that we really, really need, because it's just the reader's side of things is terrible on the Remarkable compared to the competition. Now I can do a word search, so that's okay. Only if you have words in the document. If it's a scanned images type of thing, even though it's words that are scanned, then you don't have that thing to search for. And the only formatting option that we actually have on PDFs is the adjust view option. And you can reset view, which is the default. Then you can adjust view, and in the adjust view you can scale this, and it scales in proportion of the screen, so you can see how it will fit on the screen itself. So if I move it, for example, like this, to leave some room for the toolbar here, and I go adjust view, then it actually kind of fits, and then I can see things a little bit better. However, what happens if I make it smaller than the screen? So now this is totally outside of the screen, and if I go adjust view, what do I actually get? Nothing. Can I navigate around this? Nope, I can't. I can't pan around the page. If I go next, it flips to the next page in the same zoom level and the same placement here. So I honestly don't understand why there isn't an option to allow us to actually have a more functional PDF reader here. It's been 3 years, and I think it's about freaking time to pay some attention to this. It really, really is. There were questions also on how it handles technical documents. So let me see here. Yeah, technical documents here. So it really depends on the document you have. Here we have a document with normal small type of text that's very dense, but it's quite readable, even though you can't really adjust the contrast, and the tables and the graphics actually show quite nicely. Then we have a document here which has a lot of formulas, but this one's a little bit more pale. And as you can see, the font itself is really thin, and it's fighting with the resolution itself. It's not blurry, but it is thin and it is pale. And this is where the contrast control would help, but most definitely the landscape mode, where this would kind of flip over and then you can flip over the previous next, you can slide over the page, that would help tremendously. But we don't have that option. So the only thing I do have is the adjust view, and that adjust view I can try and kind of fit it here as much as I can. Let's try here. And again, the speed at which the device is handling this is not something that, I wouldn't, if it didn't tell me that it has a dual core 1.2 gigahertz CPU that's supposed to be twice as powerful as the one, I wouldn't really notice. Honestly, I really wouldn't notice. So yeah, I can zoom in and it's a little bit better, but again, it's super limiting. So yes, it's usable, but it's not great. That would be my kind of interpretation of how it is for technical documents and things like that. With the images themselves, it's okay. It depends, again, on the images. What I do like is that regardless of how heavy the document is and the images in the document are, the Remarkable Reader is actually using a preview first until it loads everything up, and then it displays everything once it's loaded up. So it's not hogging the experience. You get everything displayed as quickly as possible. You get a kind of crappy version first of the image, and then it gives it a proper version very shortly after. So a document that has tables and different type of formats of tables and the graphics and all this kind of stuff, I think is handled very, very nicely. And overall, I believe that the default calibration of the contrast is quite good. Don't get me wrong, it's really, really quite good, and it works really, really good in most of the situations, but it would be good that we also could have a bit of a control over the contrast itself when we don't have an optimal document to work with. So that's something that's definitely lacking. And here you can see the swipe down, that's a little bit and then finally you also have the what are the options that we can go through here? Well, I can go to page overview, and this is where we see just how Spartan this whole thing is. Yes, I have a table of contents, and table of contents is sometimes okay, sometimes not great. You can swipe up and swipe down to actually go through it. It does not do indentation for the chapters, so it would be actually really nice that 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, so all of the dot or sub chapters are indented so that we have a nicer overview of this whole thing, but it's not. I mean, clearly nobody cares about this now for 3 years, and it shows. It's dated, it's not functioning properly, and it's very, very limited how it can be used. What can you do with the pages? Well, you can do multiple selection of pages, and then you can send the pages, and again, you can send them as PDF or PNG and all that kind of stuff. and you can change the display type. You can go from one page to another. Nope, you cannot insert pages. Nope, you cannot insert the page and use it for notes. You can't link a document to a notebook and then have document notes. Astonishingly, no, you cannot bookmark a page. There's no bookmark management. No, you cannot do a long press on the text and enter highlight mode and then select highlight text that way. Not with a highlighter, but long press a word, highlight the text, and then have a searchable highlight in the table of contents. You cannot add annotations, like typed in annotations to the highlights or anything like that. And no, you cannot do a search on written. You can only search words. You cannot search and find pages within a document where you scribbled something in. Well, what can you do? Well, you can read a document and you can scribble on it. Woof, rip-de-doo. I mean, and it's been like that for 3 years. That just is not okay at all as far as I'm concerned. Now, you may think that things are a lot better when you are dealing with texts and ebooks or EPUBs, and you'd be right up to a degree. So as long as you're dealing with small documents like up to 10 pages or so, it's perfectly fine and it actually works okay. You have same ability, you can scribble on it, you have layers, you have everything like that. You can send by email and blah 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 blah. All is the same. The only thing that's really important between the two formats is actually the formatting. And you can do word search, you can do page overview, pretty much exactly the same stuff here, same limitations. Can't bookmark, can't annotate, can't do any of those stuff. I can't do long press on a word and select it and then have handles and then select it. Nope. On EPUBs you can't do that. So what kind of a reader is it that you can't do bookmarks, you can't do highlights, and you can't add annotations that are searchable? Like, what the... I don't get that, but alright. However, you have some text formatting, which of course you need to have it. So we can choose from 6 font sizes. We can change justification. We have wide, medium, and narrow page margins. So wide goes all the way wide, narrow goes, this is how narrow it goes, and you can adjust page spacing or line spacing. No paragraph spacing adjustments are available, and that's pretty much it. And you have 6 fixed fonts to choose from. So on a page, on a document that's like really short and small, something like this, which has like 2-3 pages, you can see that it's fairly responsive, and you would be inclined to think, well, that's okay, that's not that bad. However, things really change very drastically if you are dealing with a large book. So here I have Count Monte Cristo, and yeah, let's go into the EPUB version of it. And it is now currently 2,279 pages. So yeah, it's a large book. And I'm going to put timer here, right next to it. And I'm going to go into the text settings. And I'm going to do any change. And I'm going to be very careful to press only one of the buttons. And I'm going to do it at the same time. So let's make larger fonts. So 3, 2, 1, go. It's processing. So now he's processing, and now the device is kind of locked. You can't go here, but you can still change things here. But whatever you do, do not do it. And if you do it, every subsequent change that you introduced after this one will introduce the same waiting time that you are witnessing right now. And this is absolutely broken type of behavior. This is completely inexcusable. So I can't even begin to describe how much this kind of laziness and the approach to all of this is pissing me off. Here we are, 50 seconds, it's still doing it. There we go, 51 seconds I think it was. Now if I had pressed any of the other buttons, let's say that I did font size, and then I decided that I wanted to do, I wanted to also wider page margins, less line spacing in a different font. it wouldn't finish processing with all of that. No, 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 no. It would do 51 seconds for the font, 51 seconds for the page margins, 51 seconds for the line spacing, and 51 seconds for the font. So you would end up waiting almost 4 minutes for your format changes. Now let's get here a SuperNode A6, which is a single core 1 GHz device, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the same exact document and time it, and let's see how that one handles it. So it's an older and a much less powerful device, and let's just see how that one tackles that. So here we are using the same exact document on the SuperNode, which, remember, it has a single 1 GHz CPU, so it should be twice as slow. But let's see how it handles formatting when compared to the Remarkable 2. So let's change the font size on this one, the same thing that we did on the Remarkable, and save the change. So 3, 2, 1, go. I get, within 2 seconds, I get this display of the page that I was in, and I can actually continue reading. Now, I am not free to leave yet because the device is still counting pages. So it is converting, it's doing all the heavy processing still. It is taking time, but it is not locking the device. I am able to use it and I'm able to continue reading with the new formatted settings within 2 seconds of the change. And I'm sorry, it's done at 32 seconds, I think, it finished processing. So it's almost twice as fast, and it gives you immediate access to your document when you've changed the formatting. So I think that the handling and how the Remarkable team has neglected the reader side of things on the Remarkable as a platform is inexcusable. And on a release of such a spectacular device such as the Remarkable 2 is, it's doubly so inexcusable. There is no reason why this should have been done this way. It has nothing to do with simplicity, it has nothing to do with distractions, it just has to do with it not being done, and or done wrong. And I'm sorry, as much as I really love the device, I have to call it as I see it, and that one is definitely not okay, and it hasn't been okay for way too long. This has to change very, very soon. So as far as I'm concerned, the reader functionality really absolutely needs these features and functionalities to have, and this isn't a question, as I said, this isn't a question of simplicity, this is not a question of distraction or anything like that. This is a question of basic functionality and standardization of a device for use case scenario. I mean, Remarkable claims that they want to enter into and have some more professionals use this kind of tool, and I totally agree. I really do want to use this for my reader needs as well, but as it is currently now, it's a joke. As a reader, it's a complete joke, and you really have to have at least bookmarking with full editing capability of bookmarks, renaming, sorting, all that kind of stuff, searchable text highlights, long press on a word, get the handles, expand the handles, have a highlight, and yeah, add that, and next to table of contents or in the table of contents you can switch between TOC, your highlights, your notes, and your scribbles. Searchable text highlight notes or annotations, searchable writing and drawings on your documents, again, highly, highly needed and usable. Multicolor brush exporting, I'm talking about red, blue, green at least. So of course this is a monochrome display, yes, I do understand that, but to select a color and actually just underline or write notes in a text in a different color, so that when it's exported to a color device that those work like Onyx Books has. A dictionary. We need a dictionary for a reader. This is something that's definitely needed if you want people to use your device for technical documents. That's something that you really need. Landscape mode functionality like Kindle, so that again, when you're having PDFs that are not that optimal, that you have the ability to actually use them on a device. Then the device becomes more usable and it's like your tool. It's super cool, it's professional. Contrast control for pale PDFs, again, doesn't have to be extreme, but something that helps out less than optimal PDFs to actually use. And this is a big one. I know all of these 8 that I've mentioned up until now, none of them are a big thing to implement. They're simply refusing to do it. For whatever reason, I don't understand, but they don't want to do it, and I'm totally baffled by that. The 9th point here, split screen mode, that's a big deal. That's a really big implementation. That's a difficult thing to do, but we know that the split screen mode works on a 10.3 format quite nicely on the Note 2, for example. So imagine how much more usable this device would be if you could have a split screen mode and have a document here, and let's say in combination with the landscape searchability thing, that you have nice PDF here, and then you just kind of swipe and it looks okay, that you can see it zoomed in and swipe through pages, and on the side you actually write down your notes, and that these that the document and the notebook are actually linked. That's functionality, that's professionalism, that's what you need in a tool. And this fantastic piece of engineering and design is not being utilized to its full potential, not even by a long shot. As far as the reader side of things goes, it's extremely let down by the software side of things as far as the reader capabilities go. It's really a disappointment that they haven't put in literally zero effort for the Remarkable 2 to actually elevate the platform a little bit. This concludes part 3 of the in-depth review and guide for the Remarkable 2 paper tablet. Be sure to click on the links around here or down below and to move on to part 4, which is the conclusion of this review.